Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and listening tonight. It is Friday night, and you're listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. I'm Anthony Agati in New York.
And I'm Luci in Chicago. Are you ready for another Paranormal Friday night? We are so happy that you could join us. We welcome all of our regular listeners and those of you who have tuned in for the very first time. If you have a question for us or about the evidence tonight, feel free to ask us in chat or call into the show at 661-244-9831. We'll try to get to you as soon as we can. And don't forget, you can always send us an email with future topics that you'd like to see on the show, or if you just want to say hi. Our email address is paranormalreviewradio@yahoo.com. And last but not least, check us out on our Facebook show page and our YouTube channel for more information on the paranormal and upcoming shows.
So, first off, I think we should just apologize to everybody for not being on the air last week. Both Luci and I came under bad weather. We were sick. Both of us were sick.
We both got
one worse
sick.
than the other. So we just want to apologize first for not being on the air last week. I guess going to Eastern State Penitentiary the week before took a toll on our bodies, and we just caved in. So we were not able to be on the air last week, and so we apologize, and we are back today. And what better way to talk about the evidence that we captured at Eastern State Penitentiary? So tonight we're going to talk about basically what we encountered when we were at Eastern State Penitentiary. And if you did not capture and weren't able to listen into the live show, which we will get into in a minute, we did a live show broadcast from Eastern State Penitentiary 2 weeks ago, which was our investigation on November 22nd. And so if you guys were not able to listen to that, we'll go briefly into that and what actually happened during the middle of the show, and then we're going to go into some of the things that happened after the show ended, or the show abruptly ended, and what went on during the investigation for the rest of the night between Luci and I and a couple of other members that came along with us to investigate. So let me start off, Luci. I'm just going to start off by explaining what happened during the show on our live investigation. We started it at 9 p.m., which was earlier than our normal time at 10 p.m., and the reason why we did that was because we had limited time at Eastern State Penitentiary. We were only able to stay there until 2 a.m. The investigation started at 7 p.m. So normally, in Luci, how long have we normally stay at locations?
Usually we're there for like a full 12 to 14 hours.
Right. So this one was very short to us, but we still wanted to broadcast live and bring Eastern State Penitentiary to you guys and to have that ability for you guys at home to do, couch ghost hunting, if you will. And so we started the show at 9 p.m., a little bit earlier than normally, and we were going to go the full 2 hours. Now, we had a guest on the show, which was Robin Marie, the great Robin Marie, psychic medium, who has a special connection with Eastern State Penitentiary. She's gone there many times, and she's always had some sort of connection with that place. I don't know if she's easily able to communicate with the spirits, or they're easily able to befriend her and able to communicate. Luci, did Robin ever explain what that connection was?
No. When we asked Robin if she would call in to see if she could connect. She just said that she's always had a close connection. She's been able to pick up on the spirits that are there. She never really went into, if there was anything in particular, but she was very happy, very gracious to she agreed right away to call in and to actually see if she could connect, and boy, did she connect.
Yeah, she did, and I think it was right off the bat she started to feel and sense a lot of the spirits that were around us. I think there was one mean gentleman. I think there was one lost soul who was very disheartened, and if you listen to the live show, the live investigation, you can see the change in Robin Marie's tone of voice when she was talking about, I think it was Mr. Branton, is that his name?
Branford.
Branford. That was the spirit that came through, who was lost and was looking for his family, and just felt very sorrow and saddened. And so that was close to the midway point of our show. That was, I think, maybe 45 minutes or 50 minutes into the show. And at that point, Luci and I had started to notice this shadow figure at the end of the hall in where were we? Cell block 4? 2.
Cell block 2.
Okay, so we were in cell block 2, and at that point when Robin was connecting with Mr. Branford, we started to see a shadow at the end of the hall, and Luci and I decided to walk towards that area. And midway through walking towards the end of the cell block 2, we started to sense and started to feel things, and we stopped midway. And we continued the conversation while we had our cell phone in the hand, and which is our connection to the live feed. All of a sudden, the phone and everything went dead. Now, prior to the show actually starting that night, we also wanted to do an actual live video feed, and we were able to capture, from what I understand from people watching it, I think it was maybe 20 minutes or 15 minutes of it, and then the video feed went dead. And during the live show, I was actually trying at the same time to try and get that connection back, to get back up again, and I was unable to do that. And so I wanted to give up on that so that we can do a really good radio show at least. And so at this point, when we were down midway, halfway down towards cell block 2, the phone went dead, the board went dead, our computer went dead, and we tried desperately to get everything to come back on. And for some reason, nothing was working. The Wi-Fi connection was perfect, but for some reason, it was not able to connect. We were not able to connect onto the Internet at all. And in order for us to once you lose the phone connection on our end, in order to bring that phone connection back up, we have to work the board on the Internet, which is on Blog Talk Radio. And so if we're not able to get onto that, we're not able to bring on any of the future calls. But what was really exciting was during the middle of this whole part, we also had Cindy Jensen on. And she had called in because she's been at Eastern State Penitentiary many, many times with her group. And when we lost this signal, we didn't know this, but apparently Cindy Jensen and Robin Marie continued with the show, and they did an absolute fabulous job. I mean, I afterwards, when we had come back home the next morning, we listened to the show, and we were curious to see actually how long it went on and what was going on during that time that we weren't able to get into the board and get back on the air. And Cindy and Robin were taking the reins, and they started to talk about some of the experiences and the feelings. And so Luci, I felt bad because they were so worried about us, and we couldn't get any communication.
I know.
So,
but they did an amazing job. Ladies, I look forward to listening to the Cindy and Robin show if it ever comes to being.
Yeah, kudos to you guys for keeping it going. I mean, you really didn't have to. You could have just hung up the phone. But you stayed on like troopers, and you kept it going. And at the time that the show was scheduled for 2 hours, and so I guess at the point of the 2-hour mark, it just cut you guys off. So again, I want to apologize for that, but I also want to apologize for not being able to get back on board and get back on the air for everybody. But I think we had a really good show. I think we started to connect with a lot of the spirits, and who knows, maybe it was some of that energy that Robin was talking about with that gentleman, Mr. Branford, who was just overcome with sadness, and it affected her so much in a way that her tone of voice started to change. It almost seemed as though she started to feel that sadness. And as we were walking towards this shadow figure at the end of the hallway, it must have just been so much energy that they were trying to manifest, and it just wiped everything out. Or it could have just been technical issues. I can't speak to that. I don't know. But it was an amazing experience, I can say. And I'm not sure, Lucy, how much more you want to elaborate on what you were feeling during that time.
Well, I do want to say something. It was our first venture into trying to do a video feed, and I was really disappointed that went down. But we, in Cell Block 2, the minute we had gotten in there, things started popping. We had an ovulus that we had placed down in the middle of the hallway along with our recorders. And as soon as we turned that ovulus on, we started getting responses out of it. There were a couple words that really, at one point, it did say paranormal.
Right.
I went to go pick up the ovulus, and it literally told me down. Like, it wanted me to put it down. So all the while that we had started, there was definitely, I could feel the presence around us. Robin mentioned a little bit about the first person that came through. And Eastern State, for some reason, I always get called names there. I always seem to affect the spirits that are there. And this first spirit was no different. Poor Robin, she was like, I can't repeat what he's saying, and I could sense that he was here. We could feel the cold air at some point, but it was the atmosphere to me was pretty electric. There was definitely something there. So, one thing that was interesting. Remember, another good friend of the show, Cheryl Patton. She had kind of done just kind of like a slight reading of what the date would be. And I gave her the date, which was 11/21. And
she does numerology.
She does numerology. And she picked up on the energy, and she said that on the first part of the investigation that they would be very, very talkative, very talkative. And it was exactly as she said. The minute that we turned on that ovulus, it was spouting words left and right.
Yeah, I did sort of feel that way, that normally when we do go into locations, we've said this thousands of times, if not millions, that we tend to sort of feel that the spirits are hiding away and they're sort of checking us out first. This time when we went to Eastern State Penitentiary, I didn't feel that way. I felt as though they were freely walking around us and not shy at all. But Cheryl also did say that on the date of 11/22, which is the date of our investigation, they would be very talkative. But at the strike of midnight, when it went into November 23rd, they were going to be very quiet, very shy, very aloof. And we did find that. We did find that certain spirits did talk to us, but overall, in general, for a majority of the spirits that are in that prison, they were not talkative, and I felt it. I felt as though that they sort of left sort of like Elvis left the building. A lot of them just left us alone and went on to do whatever they wanted to do. So it was pretty interesting that Cheryl was dead on with her accuracy in picking up on the energy for those two dates, the length of time that we were basically in Eastern State Penitentiary. So it was amazing to have that scope and to have that same feeling, which we didn't realize. Lucy, if you remember, I didn't realize what Cheryl had said to us until almost the end of the investigation, when we started to feel that there was nothing around us. And I said, Lucy, don't you remember? Cheryl said that after midnight, nothing was really going to happen anymore for us. So
she said that they were going to get quiet, and it was almost going to be like, it's time for you to leave. And at some point, it was almost like, they had, it just felt so different. The the energy that I felt in the beginning of the night definitely was gone by the end of the night. They had moved on. They were done with us.
But you know what? That doesn't shorten our evidence, because I can tell you right now, tonight you're going to be listening to 16 pieces of audio evidence that we were able to actually cleanly put up on the board tonight for you guys to listen. There were a few other ones that I had and a few other ones that Luci had that, if we had the proper software, obviously, that we can clean it up very nicely and for you guys to be able to hear it. But as much as a techie as I am, I tend to not go that route. I don't like to go that route so much and mess with either video or with audio so much, because then it becomes a manipulation, and then it's sort of like you're trying to make something happen. I like to freely put on and provide to you guys and to myself any of the audio evidence that we capture. All I do is I increase the volume. I never do anything else but increase the volume at a point where we're hearing these voices. So what you're going to hear tonight is no manipulation. We've not done any editing on these at all. And all I've done, like I said, is just increase the volume at the section where we know that there is a voice, or that we know that there is some sort of spirit sound or something that's going on in these pieces of audio clips. That's all that I've done. So that's the information that I wanted to let everybody know tonight. If if so be it in the future that we decide to get the software and to be able to clean it up like you see on the television shows, maybe we will do that. But again, I don't like to do that so much, because then it becomes fake. I like it to be a little bit more obvious that way.
Well, they're raw. I mean, I was really surprised, and I had technical issues. My computer died this week, so I had already gone through and I had marked, the times, but I lost all my software to edit, and I scrambled I got a brand new computer, so everything you hear tonight that I got is raw. I mean, it has not been, I never enhanced anything because I don't know how. I mean, I simply know how to edit. So all of these things that I found, I was really amazed. I mean, and honestly, everything that I have, I don't think it really needs any manipulation other than maybe to clean it up just a little bit. I was really surprised at some of the stuff that we got.
And I do want to say a big thank you to Eastern State Penitentiary, the folks there that allowed us to come in and investigate. We had 2 tour guides that evening who were great. I can't remember their names. 2 gentlemen that helped us out during the night, and they were absolutely great. They stood their distance away from us, but in one area they didn't. Usually they stayed in the rotunda whenever we would go down any of the cell blocks. But during the course of the evening, in the early evening, they actually asked us if we wanted to investigate the operating room, which we have never investigated. And it is something that is rarely ever open to a lot of people in a lot of groups, because it is very dilapidated. It is falling apart completely. But the operating room itself is in pretty decent condition, I would say. I mean, we've got. I mean, there were trees growing into this room, into the cell blocks, cement blocks that are on the walls. There were trees growing into the building, and that's how dilapidated and how sort of forgotten this place has become. But the actual hospital itself is off limits. But they allowed us to go into the operating room, which we have never done. The many times that we've been there, we've never been able to get into there. So we were stoked. We were so excited to do this, and it was actually the first area that we went into.
Well, the amazing thing about the operating room, and I have seen it on other shows, and I've seen other big groups being able to get in there, the celebs, the paracelebs. So when they offered to let us go in there, it was amazing to us. I mean, I do have to say, every time we've gone into Eastern State, something new always does amaze me. This is a location that it is a living, breathing thing. And every time we go, you would think that by the third time you go to a place, you know it pretty well. No, this place is not like this. This place is absolutely, it's different every single time. And this time was no different. The operating room, even though it's pretty beat up and it's pretty worn, I mean, you actually have the overhead light, the surgery light, I guess it is. It's still in there. There's still cabinets on the wall. So you pretty much know, you have the sense that, yes, this is a medical room. It is absolutely amazing just to be in there.
And we caught some fascinating and amazing EVPs from that location, which we're going to get into now, actually. So since we have so many audio clips that I want to make sure that we get through all of them, Luci, did you want to say anything else before we start to get into the audio clips?
Let's go. I want to hear these things over again.
Okay, so I can tell you right now, these are the areas that we basically hit during the course of the evening. We went to cell block 10. We went to cell block 2. We were a little bit in cell block 4. We went up into cell block 12. We were in the operating room. We were in death row, and we were in the hole, otherwise known as the Klondike. So those are the 7 areas that we were able to actually investigate in during the course of the evening. I think it was 7 hours we were there in total in entirety. So those are all the areas that we did. Now, originally for the live show, I really wanted to do this in cell block 12 because I have a connection with that place, and a lot of things tend to happen in cell block 12. But as soon as we arrived, that was the first spot I went to. I told the tour guides I need to start to set up everything now. And so as soon as I got there, I went up into cell block 12, and we could not get any electricity at all in the space. I'm not sure if it was because they had Terror Behind the Walls, which is their haunted attraction during the Halloween season, and somebody may have turned off the electric in that spot, at the end of that night before we got there. But in any case, that's why we did it in cell block 2. That was the only space that we were able to actually get good electric and good signal for the Wi-Fi. But we're going to start in cell block 12 because what Luci and I have done and what we've accumulated over the last 6 months is additional audio recorders. We've been able to gather, I think I have a total of 5 audio recorders. And Luci, how many do you have now?
I have 2 now. Well, actually I have 3, but I only brought 2.
Okay. So we had about 6 or 7, I think, audio recorders. I didn't use all of them all over the place, but Luci and I, wherever we did leave the audio recorders, we both had them in the same location. So during the entire course of the night, I think it was maybe from 7:30 p.m. to 2 a.m., we left our audio recorders in cell block 12. And because we did not hit that area first, we were in cell block 2 when we were doing the show, pretty much from 7:30 p.m. to, I would say, maybe 10 or 10:30 p.m., if not maybe 11 p.m., nobody was up in cell block 12 at all. We did not hit that space at all because right after the show, I think we went right into the operating room and started to investigate in there and then went into cell block 12. So we have, I'm going to count them right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 pieces of audio evidence from cell block 12. 4 of them. Right. 4 of them are of audio recordings of no one being in the location at all. These were the audio recorders that we left in the spot where nobody was there at all. No one. We were, and if anything, we were on the opposite end of the actual prison itself. We were in cell block 2 or in the operating room, which is on the opposite side of where cell block 12 is. And cell block 12, if anybody knows Eastern State Penitentiary, it's actually on the 2nd floor in order to get to the space. So you are 2 flights up and on the, I don't know if it's north or south or east or west, but it's on the opposite end of where we were for that 3-hour period. And so I'm going to play the first one, and Luci, this one we've titled just Banging Noises. Most of these that you're going to hear from cell block 12 are of noises that we captured in the space that did not sound natural to us. Now, it was not a very windy night at all. It was a cold night, but it was not that windy at all. And again, if you know Eastern State Penitentiary and those cell doors are very heavy, very rusted, very corroded, and so it's not able to easily be moved or opened. Now, I don't know what these banging noises are. We've got two separate audio clips of banging noises, and I'm not sure what they are. One is a decent sound, and the other one that we have is extremely loud. It's as though somebody dropped like a 10-gallon tin can onto the floor. And again, we were nowhere near this location at all. So, Luci, I'm going to play the first one. Do you mind?
Okay.
Okay, so this one here is 15 seconds long, and again, this is from cell block 12, and these are, I think it's a couple of banging noises that you're going to hear. So I'm sure you heard that all. I'll play it one more time. Now, you can hear how pretty much quiet it is before that banging noise and after that banging noise. That's pretty much almost the entire 7 hours of audio that I captured, or Luci had captured. That's what you hear until you hear things of this nature. So it's not outside noise. We rule that out completely, and I don't know where this noise is coming from.
Well, if you're familiar with Eastern State, and if you're familiar with the cell block 12, you can hear, I mean, you know, when you're there, you can hear the outside noises. You can hear cars, you can hear planes going overhead. But this noise, what really caught my ear on this one is when you think about the cell doors, they're metal. And if you've got an inmate that's inside that door, and if they were to bang on the door, that's the first thing that I thought of. So, you know, the noise, it's definitely, to me, sounds like the metal door that is outside of each one of those cells.
Well, I'm going to play the second one of banging noises, and this is the one that I was talking about that is extremely loud, that was caught on Luci's recorder. This one is 7 seconds long, and believe me, you're going to hear this. I'm only going to play it once. Again, it's almost as if something had fallen off, like a tin can or something onto like a cement floor. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it really does. And the thing is that in these cells, there's really nothing that I never noticed anything that was loose or anything like that. Now, down towards the shower, yes, there is there's some kind of bricks and stuff like that, but I never saw any metal cans. I didn't see anything that would be light enough to drop like that. So this one really did amaze me when I heard that. And I go through the timeline here, and that one, the first one, actually happened about 9:14 p.m. And at that time, we were actually on the air.
Right.
The banging noise happened towards the end. It was about 12:45. So we weren't anywhere near that. Nowhere near this.
All right, so staying in cell block 12, Luci again was able to capture on her recorder what we can make out as a male breath voice, almost as if not as much as someone is out of breath, but it's almost as if you can hear a male voice going. It's like an exhale. It seems to me, though, that it is close to the audio recorder that we left. And the location that we left the audio recorders were in the middle, dead middle of cell block 12. And I left them on the footsteps of each cell on either side of the center railings. So, Luci, did you want to say anything before I play this audio clip?
This one, I know for a fact that we were downstairs. We were setting up. This happened about 8:30, maybe 8:45. So a lot of these sounds seem to happen right after you had dropped off the recorder and you were already downstairs because we were scrambling to get the show started. So in my mind, I'm thinking they were checking out the recorders or whatever. They were like, we obviously stirred something up by going up there and trying to get started, and this definitely is a breath.
Okay, so this clip is about 7 seconds long, and again, I increase the spot where the breath is, so you're going to hear a lot more of the background air noise. But see if you can listen really good. Hopefully, if you guys have headphones, maybe that'll help. If not, maybe turn up the volume on your computer or your laptop, and you'll be able to listen to it. I'm going to play it twice for you guys. Here we go. It's almost like an exhale to me. Here we go again. And it's definitely a male's voice. It is definitely not a female voice at all or a child voice. It is a definite adult male voice.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember when I first heard it, I was going through the timeline, and I asked you, there was no one that left our group that went back up there. In fact,
no.
If I recall, the tour guides wouldn't let us go up there by ourselves. So
no.
If anybody had gone up there, we would have known it. We definitely would have known it.
The tour guides were sort of like stuck to our hips like with glue. They would not let us out of their sights at all. And if we even had to go to the bathroom, they had to escort us to the bathroom location. Or if we wanted a cigarette, they'd have to escort us outside. So we typically in the very beginning of it also, too, they wouldn't allow us to even split up. They wanted us to stay together. And towards the end of the night, that's when they sort of, I guess, they felt comfortable enough with us that they knew that, we weren't there to damage the place or ruin anything or steal or break or whatever, that they trusted enough that we could split up if we wanted to. But we didn't. For the entire night, all 5 of us basically stayed together. So there's no way that this was a contamination from anybody in the group or of the tour guides, because we know that they would not have left us alone at all the entire night.
And I give them credit. I mean, they were really good. I mean, they were looking out for ESP.
Yeah. I mean, that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. I get it completely. Okay, so the next one, we're still in cell block 12. Now, this next one is about 37 seconds long. And, again, like I said before, I have not cleaned any of this up at all. All I did, again, was increase the volume on it. But you can, and Blog Talk Audio is, and I'll say it is crap. The audio board that they give us to use to be able to play clips from for you guys to listen to is just crap. We cannot get it clearer. We can't manipulate it and try and do any sort of bass and tremble on here at all. It's just an on-off button type of deal with this audio clip. So, again, like what I've normally done in past investigation is I've taken all of the evidence that we've had, I put it on a clean MP4, and I put it on our YouTube channel. So, we've also posted it on our Facebook. So, whatever you hear tonight, I'm going to put it cleanly, nicely in a little package with a bow on it, and hopefully in the next couple of days you'll be able to actually go to our Facebook page, Paranormal Review Radio, and actually listen to it. And I guarantee you'll be able to listen to it a lot cleaner on regular normal audio instead of Blog Talk audio. So again, this one is still in cell block 12. This one's 37 seconds long. And again, this is something that Luci had found on her recorder. And from what I can make out of it, because Luci sent it to me, what I can make out of it is it seems as though there is a male voice having a conversation. It's almost as if that there is a television in the background, and you hear a constant male voice talking. The pitch and the tone gets higher and lower at certain points during this entire 37-second clip, but you can definitely hear that there is a conversation happening, and I can't tell if there is a second person, but I just hear a definite male voice talking. And I don't know if, Lucy, you were able to hear anything different before you sent it to me.
No, I just heard the voice, and it definitely sounds like he's conversing with someone. I can't make out a second voice. I think maybe if we were to clean it up, but this is the raw recording.
Okay, so again, Cell Block 12, this is what I've entitled Male Voice Conversation, and it's about 37 seconds long. So take a listen to it, really listen to it, because it's pretty much constant the entire 37 seconds. And see if you can hear or make out what they're trying to say or what they're doing. And again, this is definitely not any of us. This is definitely not any of the tour guides, because you cannot hear anything from the rotunda in Cell Block 12 at all. It's on the second floor, and you cannot hear anything at all. So take a listen to this. Okay, I think Connie in chat says that she can hear it. It is a conversation, and I don't know what they're saying.
No, but it's definitely a voice. It sounds like it's coming from down the cell. I mean, down the cell block. Yeah.
It definitely does sound like, though, it is further down in the cell block. I'm not sure if it's towards the end of where the windows are or if it's on the other end where their actual stairs are that goes back down to it. And again, we're going to put this on a regular audio clip to be able to put it on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. So maybe if you guys take a listen to it there, maybe you can help us and figure out if you can hear the conversation, if you can point out some words. I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper too myself. Again, Lucy and I have both been sick, and we haven't been able to really go through a lot of this audio and really do the due diligence that we should be doing. But we wanted to have something to present to you guys today. And again, we don't profess anything to be paranormal or not paranormal. We give it to you guys to make your own assessment and your own opinions, and you can let us know what you think of it.
And one of the things I do want to mention, I mean, we definitely thought about, we looked at the way that the cell block is, the distance from the rotunda, that if there was conversation in the rotunda, you cannot hear it up there. And the other thing that I found really interesting about this, the tone of voice sounded nothing like anyone who was with us. I thought about the males that were there, you, Rocco, and the tour guides. The tone of voice in that recording is nowhere near anyone. It doesn't sound anywhere like any one of you guys. Not at all.
No, and again, during this time that this happened, this recording was captured, we were in Cell Block 2, which if you can go online, you can actually go online and get a map of Eastern State Penitentiary. We are midway in Cell Block 2 when we did the show. This was captured during that time. So if you picture where the middle of Cell Block 12 is and where the middle of Cell Block 2 is, and you see that distance, it's definitely not us talking at all. You can also see the rotunda and the distance between the rotunda and Cell Block 12, and also, factor in that it is actually 2 flights up, that this definitely is not from the rotunda at all, and the tour guides were not speaking at all, because then they would have contaminated everything that you would have heard live on the show or any of the other recordings. So it's definitely not them. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying that it is definitely paranormal, but it is definitely not any of us, and it's not coming from the outside. I know it's not coming from the outside.
Not at all.
Okay, so the last one in Cell Block 12, and Lucy, why don't you talk about this one, because this one is the recording of one of the new pieces of equipment that I actually got this year, which is the REM pod, and this is actually the first time I actually used the REM pod was at Eastern State Penitentiary. And this was captured in the shower. So why don't you talk about this one?
Okay. Well, after we got out of the operating room, the whole group, we go up to cell block 12. And, pretty much I myself, I wasn't feeling much. We all picked the cell that we were going to go in. Well, of course, I rush down to the shower all the time. The shower is completely at the end of cell block 12. This is the area where, Anthony, you saw a shadow figure. It's also down where, if you on one of the television shows, they've had a pretty well-known clip of a shadow figure coming down the catwalk and then going back. So, of course, I rushed to the shower. And last time I was there, I sat there, didn't get anything. This time I go into the shower, and I want to see if I get anything. I start using the spirit box. The atmosphere in the shower was heavy to me, but it was definitely not, there wasn't any, I didn't get any responses. I got random voices out of the spirit box. Nothing really that showed me that they were aware of me or anything like that. We bring the REM pod into the shower, and we put it in the middle of the shower. I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm asking the shadow figure, come on, show yourself. I'm a female. I'm alone. What's happened here? Has anything bad come? I mean, the reputation of the shower is definitely, it's kind of aggressive, and it's definitely negative. So I'm sitting here by myself. Nothing is happening. Joanne, one of the investigators that was with us, she came to the doorway, and she begins to ask who's in the shower. We hear nothing. We've got no responses. So finally, Joe sits there. She talks to me. She asked me if I heard anything. And she mentions how the building itself didn't feel creepy. She didn't feel fear. She didn't feel afraid. And she says this out loud. When she says this, all of a sudden, the REM pod lights up. And I feel this rush of energy come towards the doorway. I'm sitting in the shower. Joanne's standing in the doorway. As soon as this REM pod goes up, I feel a rush of energy as if it was lunging at her. Like she had just mentioned, well, I'm not afraid. I don't feel anything. And what I'm getting is that whoever's in there reacted to that. And it was almost like, oh, you're not afraid? How about this?
So this is the audio clip in cell block 12, and this is in the shower as Luci was talking about. You're going to hear the conversation that Luci just described, and then you're going to hear the REM pod. Obviously, you're not going to see the REM pod. The lights go off, but you're going to hear the REM pod make the sound that it normally does when there's a presence of energy that is surrounding the REM pod itself, and it goes off for a pretty long time. So this audio clip is about 39 seconds long. So take a listen to this.
One of the spots where it's like really creepy, but yet I don't get that. Like I don't feel that. But people seem to be afraid of this spot.
I don't feel anything creepy in this building.
In the building?
Yeah. I just thought.
Oh.
Are you here? Who's here? Do it again.
Yeah.
And that whistling was Rocco, by the way. That wasn't the machine.
No, it definitely. And to give you an idea of where this REM pod was, Joanne and Rocco are standing in the doorway, and I'm sitting. There's a small bench that's on the side towards the door. This REM pod we had placed it pretty much, I'm going to say it was a good 2 feet away from either one of us. There's no way that we were anywhere near this, and there was no reaction until Joanne says, I don't feel anything creepy, nothing in this building. And I truly believe that whoever is in there, that spirit said, you don't feel anything creepy, I'm going to give you something creepy.
Or it was just trying to make its presence known. If you know you're in a room and somebody is sort of, either they're trying to ignore you, if if someone's mad at you and they're making this blatant obvious notion and trying to ignore you, you're going to turn around and say, hey, I'm here. Hello, I'm here. You know, if they hear that somebody's talking about nobody here, nobody's in the space, they don't feel anything, maybe they felt intimidated. Maybe they want to be, wanted to make themselves known, and came closer and made that REM pod go off. That could have been one of the reasons. So it's just. It was the first time actually that I actually used this piece of equipment, this tool, and in a couple of locations, it actually worked out really well. And Cell Block 12 was one of them, and Death Row was the other one.
Yeah, Death Row is the next spot that we went to, and Death Row has always been good for us. I like to use the spirit box in Death Row because I always get good reactions. There's definitely two spirits
in Death Row. They like to curse you out.
Oh, they love cursing me out. There's two presence in Death Row that I usually connect with. One is less aggressive, and the other one is definitely aggressive. And he doesn't like me. He calls me names all the time. And actually, they didn't disappoint us this time. We went down to Death Row. We used the spirit box. We had the REM pod, and we did an EVP session. And, we began asking the questions, and we got some answers to the questions that we're asking. And, of course, Eastern State Penitentiary is really good about draining my batteries. And, of course, as always, my fully charged digital IR camera, I have a couple of them, and my little one begins to drain power. And at this point, the REM pod begins to go off. We start laughing. I think, well, you know what? Go ahead and play some of them, because we get some responses to the laughter. We get some responses with the REM pod, and we get responses to our questions.
Okay, so now we're going into Death Row, and like Luci was saying, this is the spot where she likes to use the ghost box, and we pretty much, if you're familiar with Eastern State Penitentiary, when you're in Death Row, it's actually gated off. You cannot go to the areas of the actual cells itself. You're there at the control panel for the cells, the old control panel, and then there's that gate there. And so we sort of situated ourselves right in front of that gate. We put the REM pod down. I put my recorder down on the floor. Luci had her ghost box in her hand. I had my IR digital video camera on and playing it all. And again, I'm going to put that video as well together with this audio clip just to give you an idea of the visuals of what was going on while these particular incidences were happening. So these are the responses that we got from Luci's ghost box. And this one in particular, I've titled Death, Ghost Box Death. And what it is it was a response from Luci when she asked the room, Death Row, when she asked whoever was in any of the spirits there, that what did they do to that they kept them there? What was it that they did that kept them in the space? And the response that came over on the ghost box was the word death. So this is about 18 seconds long. Take a listen.
What did you do that they kept you here? Death? Did they put you to death?
So that one was a response of death. And then after this one is, again, we're still in Death Row. Luci's still got her ghost box going on. And, again, Luci and Rocco, who's the other investigator with us that night, were both of them were asking questions about basically whether or not that if they were sorry for what they did or if they were happy with what they did. So Luci, I believe, says something. If not, I think that the word sorry just comes off on the ghost box itself, and then Luci responds to that. And then you're going to hear Rocco pretty much say, are you happy with what you did? And you're going to hear the response, no. come on the ghost box. So this one's 24 seconds long. Take a listen.
Who said sorry? Are you sorry for what you did?
Are you happy what you did?
So right there you've got two clean responses, I think, to the questions that were answered. You don't hear any other words that come through, and they seem to be in direct response or in direct connection with the line of questioning that Luci and Rocco were conducting during that period of time. Did you want to add anything to that, Luci?
The tones of voice. I mean, the one thing that I really enjoy about using the spirit box in there, in death row in particular, you really do, you can hear the different tones of voice. That definitely is a male voice. It is definitely seems to be responding to the questions. And I'm telling you, the spirit box and death row, I enjoy using that there. I really feel the connection that we're in there. And when you first walk in, sometimes you don't feel it. Sometimes it's not there. It's almost like you have to, it's almost like they react to your reactions. But this definitely is the tones of voice. I'm telling you that the voices that I heard were not us. They were definitely male. And to me, they were amazing.
Okay, so the last one that we have in Death Row, the last audio clip that we have for Death Row itself, is it's a little bit of a lengthy audio clip. It's 1 minute and 22 seconds. And the reason why I did not cut this up shorter was because I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to listen to it again raw and in full so that you could understand what was happening before and a little bit after this incident. And to give you a basic understanding of it, again, like I said earlier, the REM pod was down by the gate, down on the floor by the gate next to my audio recorder there. Now, you're going to hear now the REM pod go off on different occasions, and the reason why we captured this clip, it's actually a funny incident that happened. Joanne and Rocco, who were right before this clip, right before the audio from this clip that you're going to hear, actually were having a little bit of a tiff, a little bit of a fight.
They were having
an
interaction.
An interaction. That's a nice way of saying it. And Joanne was making fun of Rocco. And if you don't know them, they're married. And obviously, things like this go on. So Joanne was making I don't know if it was a joke or something funny about Rocco. And right after that happened, the REM pod goes off. And we think that it was in response to this little rift that was going on between Joanne and Rocco. And you'll hear Joanne responding back saying, oh, do you like jokes? You like to laugh. Is that what you want to do? Do you want to laugh? That was funny what I did. She was giving that response back because we were thinking that that's what they were reacting to. I'm not sure if that's what they were reacting to or not. But we figured because it happened at that time, let's keep it going and let's see if that was the actual incident that caused them to come forward and create the REM pod to go off and make the sound. Now, you're going to hear Joanne ask a lot of different questions. But the one question that I want you guys to listen to and look out for is when she says, you want more jokes to laugh? If you remember that sentence, that question, you want more jokes to laugh? Directly right after she says that, you're going to hear, and this is not coming from the ghost box. Now, the ghost box, I believe, is going on at the same time. But this is not coming from the ghost box. This is an actual EVP of an actual electronic voice phenomena that came through in response to that, and you're going to hear the word no. So listen to this conversation. Wait for when Joanne says, want more jokes to laugh? And directly right after that, you're going to hear a male voice say no. I'm going to play it for you right now.
I'm talking to you.
Okay, who is that?
Did you like how I made fun? Did you like how I made fun of him? Yeah? You like to laugh, right? It's funny. You never laugh down here, do you? Want to have more jokes? Want more jokes to laugh?
Okay, if that light went off, that means you're close to us. Where are you? Okay, you're right there. That's cool. Say something. Thank you.
Let us know if you want to laugh.
Are you checking us out? No? I heard somebody say no. Okay.
I mean, at that point, Lucy, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, the REM pod was going crazy in there.
And you know, one thing I think we get good reaction when we're in death row, because when I think back of it, there's really nobody on the team that we had that had any fear. We were very open to communicating. So every time we go into death row, we get reactions. And since this is the first time that we had the REM pod with us, that thing was going crazy. I mean, it definitely was reacting. And it seems to react almost in response to the conversation that's going on.
And the REM pod did not go off in any other location. It only went off in cell block 12 and in death row. Those are the only two locations that the REM pod actually had any interaction with. So that was, if there was anything faulty with the piece of equipment that we had, or if it was, tripping out, it would have gone off in the other locations, and it did not. I found that it did not. At one point during the course of the evening, the Ovilus was going nuts, and so I decided not to continue with it because it wasn't trustworthy enough. It was just flipping out, and it was just, going crazy, and so I had stopped that, and I didn't want to sort of, I guess, contaminate anything or have any false positives on anything. So I took the batteries out and never used the Ovilus again after we first used it in cell block 2.
No, I mean, it definitely, I'm really glad that we used it. I mean, it made a difference. It was the first time that we'd ever used a REM pod in death row. And you got to remember that this section of the prison, they actually never killed anybody. They never executed anybody in Eastern State. This is where they kept the men that were scheduled to be killed, and before they transferred them to a different location. So I always get the feeling that there's definitely two presents that stay in this location. I've only been there 3 times, but each time, this particular spot, I always seem to sense those two presence there, and they didn't disappoint us this time, not at all.
No. Okay, so, wow, it's an hour into the show already, Lucy.
I know. I'm reliving this whole thing all over again.
But I can't believe we've still got a bunch of audio clips to get through, so, and that's why I'm sort of rushing through it all, because you guys can actually go back and listen to the show on archive and listen to this again if you want to. So now we move out of death row, and again, this is not in succession of how we conducted the evening, but this is just how I've listed the audio clips. So we're out of death row now, and now we're going into the operating room, which I think, and Lucy, you can explain this, I know I had a strange feeling when I was in the operating room itself. It felt very different than any other space. But the operating room itself was affecting the women more than the men. And just to give you a visual, there were 2 men and 3 women on our investigative tour that evening. So when we were in the operating room, and during the course of the time that we were there, I think it was maybe about 45 minutes to an hour almost, there was halfway through, there was an effect that happened and occurred to the women, and I'll let you explain that, Luci.
Well, the main thing I remember from this room, it felt like the floor was moving. All three of the females, we start feeling dizzy. We start feeling like the floor is moving. It didn't affect the guys whatsoever. I mean, they did not hear it. We used the spirit box. We did EVP. And at one point, there is kind of like, it's almost like a separate small room that's kind of like to the side of the main room of the operating room. We stood like in a circle. We put our REM pod in the middle. We put the recorders in the middle. And I was standing with my back to this slightly open room. And they do have it, they have a chain there where you can't go there. I literally had to hold on to the wall. And there's only one other location that I remember feeling the same feeling, and that was in Bobby Mackey's in the bathroom, where you literally feel the floor, to me, felt like it was moving. Another one of the investigators, she kept saying that she felt like she was rocking back and forth.
And I actually caught that on video. I have her, as I was going through the video, you actually see her rocking back and forth for a long period of time.
Well, I sense, one of the recordings that we do have, I definitely sense something in back of me, someone, and I think one of our recordings kind of like confirms that. But we use the spirit box. You know, we start asking questions. We get a couple reactions. We ask how many people are in there. They tell us, they give us a number. They tell us there's 7. And one of the responses from the spirit box really made sense because you're in the operating room, and it says, it hurts. So let's go ahead and play these because, I mean, to me, they really do make sense. You're in an operating room. I guess one of the tour guides had told us, you know, there's a lot of things that happened there. I mean, it was a full operating room. I believe they said that Al Capone actually had his appendix removed in this operating room while he was at Eastern State. So the responses that we're getting, they definitely pertain to things that could have happened inside an operating room.
Yeah, there was some really great audio clips that we have from this area, the operating room itself. And so I've got 6 clips that I want to get through. And the first one that I have is, again, it's in the operating room itself. And this one's an EVP that I captured on my recorder, my digital recorder. And, again, I'm not sure if Blog Talk Radio is going to transfer this audio very well over the air right now. But hopefully I'm going to be able, well, not hopefully, but I will be able to put this on a clean audio clip that I'm going to post on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page. But take a listen to this. This one is, I've entitled it, or what the response that we got was, Everyone Go. So to me, that's an intelligent response because it's visually seeing that there is multiple people in the room, and the feeling that they have is that they didn't want us in that space. They weren't comfortable. Maybe it was because they were hurting. Maybe because they were in pain. Maybe they were sick, and they didn't want anybody around them. And so here's an EVP. It's about 14 seconds long. And again, the area where you're going to hear the volume go louder, take a hard listen, and you're going to hear in between the air noise what I believe is what a male voice is saying, everyone go. So take a listen.
Need some medicine?
All right, let me play it one more time to you. Luci says, do you need any medicine? You'll hear silence, and then you'll hear the increase in volume, and listen to everyone go.
Need some medicine?
Again, I'm not sure if this transferred very well over Blog Talk. I don't know, Luci, were you able to hear that on your end?
I can hear it. I can hear the whisper. It's almost like in a whispered tone.
Yeah, it is. It's a very light whisper. I can hear it on my computer, on my laptop, and so I think it's just a matter of this Block Talk audio system that is not being able to transfer this very well. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one, and this one's a pretty funny one. This one is still in the operating room, and this is Luci with her ghost box. It's a 12-second clip, and again, every time we go to Eastern State Penitentiary, they hate Luci. They do not like her.
They call me names.
They call her names, and in this particular audio clip, they call Luci fat. At least it's not the bitch. The last time we were there, they called you bitch. But in this one, you're going to hear the ghost box say fat. Take a listen.
Talk to us. Say something. Call me a name. Fat? Yeah.
It was pretty funny because you actually asked, call me a name, and they did. They called you fat.
They love me.
I know. You've got such friends in Eastern State Penitentiary. Okay. Here's the third clip from the operating room. And again, this is from the ghost box that Luci is playing. It's 11 seconds long. And I can't remember if there was a question asked in this one, but the response that comes over on the ghost box is, it hurts. Now, that's a pretty fitting response to come over on the ghost box while we're in the operating room. It only just makes sense that this would come through in the operating room itself. So this is 11 seconds long. You're going to hear the ghost box say, it hurts.
To answer questions, you just saying things. I know, yeah. It hurts? What hurts?
The thing that's cool about this, when I'm first saying, you guys don't seem to want to answer questions, you just want to say things. And it actually responds, and it actually goes, yep.
Right. Right. Again, this was before midnight. All of this was happening before midnight, and it seemed as though that they were very talkative. And to the point that Cheryl had said to us that they were going to be very talkative with us up until the midnight hour. And then after that, it was going to be very difficult for us to get any sort of communication out from them. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the fourth audio clip from, again, the operating room. And again, this is the ghost box. And I think, Luci, you just mentioned this before. And in this clip, you ask how many are here, and the ghost box responds back with the number 7. And you know what? How funny is that? This clip is 7 seconds long. So take a listen to this.
How many?
And that was a female voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the amazing thing about it, because we had asked, are there any nurses here? Are there any females here? And the voice that responds when I ask how many is a female voice.
Right. Okay. These are pretty simple audio clips. There's nothing really to explain any further. So that's the reason why we're sort of going through these a little bit quicker. The fifth one that I have out of the 6 audio clips in the operating room is, again, of a ghost box response. And what's funny about this one is, I believe, Luci, you were asking the spirits in the room to show us something or give us a sign that they're there. And the ghost box responds, and I guess it's one spirit telling another spirit sort of, go ahead. And the response that we got from the ghost box was, show them. So take a listen to this one.
No one's going to believe you here unless you give us a sign.
Show them.
I love these spirits.
Okay, this next one, this is the 6th and last clip from the operating room. This one I'm very intrigued with. It's actually 2 separate pieces of audio that was captured in succession, and it's a 14-second audio clip. And what it is after we've ended our ghost box session in the operating room, Luci and the girls are talking about how they were feeling nauseous because of the whole way that the room itself was making them feel. And like we were saying before, one of the females in the room was actually swaying back and forth, and Luci was feeling as though the room was moving around, and she actually had to hold onto the wall. So you're going to hear a conversation of that nature. In the very beginning of this clip, you're going to hear a laughter, a very high-pitched laughter that is not any of the folks that are in the room itself. So this is an EVP that was captured of some female laughing. And then you're going to hear a conversation, and you're going to hear, I think, Luci talking about, I feel nauseous. And when you get to that point in this audio clip, when you're hearing that conversation go on between Joanne and Luci about the feeling of nauseousness, listen to the background noise. And what I can make out of it is that it sounds as though it's a gurney. It's the wheels on a gurney squeaking as it is being rolled in, on a floor, on concrete. It's very odd, but it is, again, fitting to have this noise in the operating room. It sounds like it's an old metal cart or an old metal gurney that's being rolled in the room. So, again, in the beginning of this clip, you're going to hear a very high-pitched laughing. That is an EVP. That is not any of the ladies in the group. And then as you hear Luci and Joanne talking about feeling nauseous, listen to the background noise of some wheels squeaking and rolling on the floor.
I don't know if anything is in there. I know, the dizziness is back.
I'm getting nauseous.
I'm going to play it one more time. You're going to hear that high-pitched laughing, and then again, when you hear Luci talking about the word nauseous and feeling nauseous, right at that point, listen in the background, and you start to hear that squeaking, rolling noise.
I don't know if anything is in there. I know, the dizziness is back.
I'm getting nauseous.
What do you think,
not
Luci?
any of us. That was definitely not any of us laughing. That laughter is very high pitched, and it's really weird because you hear. There was nothing in that room. There was no carts. There was nothing with wheels on it. But what I'm hearing is definitely something moving on wheels, squeaky wheels.
Yeah. I mean, when I heard it, my jaw almost fell to the floor because I know I work I work in the food industry, and so I know what cart sounds like, and I know what those old-time full metal carts with the metal wheels sound like as they're old and rusty sometimes, how they sound when they're rolling across the floor. It could be on a concrete or even a carpet floor. When those wheels start to rub against the other metal, to me, that's what that sounds like. It just sounds like that it's something rolling and a continuous roll with that continuous squeal in the back, and it stops. And again, it's fitting that it would happen in an operating room. Either it's a medical cart, or it could be the sound of a gurney being rolled in. This is probably some residual sounds that's going on in the space. But I just thought that this piece was amazing to include, in the show tonight for everybody to listen to.
Well, I love it because while we're in the room, we don't hear this. We didn't hear anything of that nature. We didn't hear the laughter, and I definitely do not remember hearing those wheels going. But yet here it is on the recorder.
Yeah, there's nothing in that room. The only thing that was in that room was whatever cabinets were on that wall, and then the overhead operating light. That's all that was in that room. And like I had mentioned before, there were tree branches growing into this space. So you've got basic concrete and cinder blocks and rock and stone all around you. There's nothing metal. There was absolutely nothing metal at all. And again, just to give you a little bit of a background on this, as soon as we walked into the operating room, the tour guide told us to absolutely not touch the overhead operating light. 2 two reasons. One, they didn't want us to get hurt because they weren't sure if whether or not this thing was, sort of stable on the ceiling or on the wall. I'm not sure how it was hooked up. But also, two, they didn't want us breaking it. And so we never touched anything other than our own equipment itself or the floor or the walls. That was it. That's all that happened in that room.
No, it definitely was a treat. I'm very glad that we were lucky enough to go in there. And, again, this room did not disappoint us. I mean, we definitely got something in there.
All right, so the next set of clips that I have is from the hole. And I'm not sure if anyone has had the privilege of going down into the hole and investigating there. I'm sure Cindy has, and I know Cindy's listening tonight. I'm sure she's been down in the hole itself, and I'm fascinated with this area. It is underground, number one. You have to go down steps, very steep steps. It's a very low ceiling, and I think there's maybe about 4 or 5. I mean, they're cut out holes.
They're cells. They're cells.
Right. I mean, it's not cells that you would particularly picture as in a regular prison. I mean, these are arched holes made out of cement that I'm sure at one point when this was active, there were bars across this, but there are no bars now. But they are very low, and they are meant for punishment. They are meant to punish anyone who was put in there. And I know from the history and the research that we've done, a lot of people that went in there, I mean, when you talk about being punished, it's something that you've done that something was really, really bad while you were a prisoner. A lot of the folks a lot of the prisoners that were put in this space were put down there because they talked, because there was that vow of silence that each of the prisoners and even the guards and the workers in the prison were meant to. That was a Quaker way of rehabilitating and structuring the prisoners, was this sort of vow of silence that you were not allowed to speak at all. And so if anyone spoke, they were tortured in there. But if there was continuous interaction of this nature or combatingness of these prisoners, they were put in this hole for a period of time. There's no bed in there. There's no nothing. I don't think they fed you or gave you any water, and they left you in there for a couple of days or even longer than that probably, and then took you out. There's no windows. There's no nothing in this spot at all.
And you got to imagine, I mean, the terror that someone would feel to be placed in this kind of, this little container, and there's no lights, there's nothing. You are in complete darkness, and, I know that from the research, people that went down there, they literally, it was the verge of madness. Now, the hole for me, the Klondike for me, has always been really, really active. On my first trip to Eastern State, this is the area where I actually got touched. And again, so I head down there. We've got 2 EVPs on here, and I have to say this, Anthony, the EVP that you got on your recorder has to be one of the clearest, most amazing EVPs that we've ever gotten. This EVP is just amazing.
Yeah, when I listened to this audio recording, I actually had to go back into the video because, again, I always do this where whatever I record on my audio recorder, I also, if I'm in the room, I also have my video camera. And obviously in this particular spot, I had my audio recorder going and it was on the floor, but I was also videotaping it as well. And so I had to go to the videotape. No pun intended, this isn't sports night. I had to go to the videotape. And I had to check that spot to see if it was, obviously I know it wasn't myself, but I wasn't sure if it was the other gentleman, Rocco, that was with us investigating that night, because I know in both of these clips there is a male voice, and in the whole we got 2 EVPs, but the one in particular, I'm going to leave that one for last. I'm going to go to the other one first, but the one in particular that was amazing, that was very clear, I mean, I know it wasn't his voice, but I had to go to the videotape just to check it and see, and it wasn't. Nobody was speaking at that moment, nobody at all, and it didn't come over on videotape at all. And we were in close proximity to each other. We were maybe, I think, the farthest from one end to the other, there were, again, 5 of us, may have been about 10 feet. So if anything would have been said, it would have been picked up on my video recorder as well as the audio recorder. And so when I found out that it wasn't anyone from the video recording, I was amazed at this. I was amazed at the fact that we were able to capture something that was pretty clear. Again, I haven't cleaned anything of these at all, and this is the raw footage of it or the raw audio clip of it. So like Lucy was saying, we got 2 EVPs from the hole. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is an EVP that I've entitled, or what the response that came over was, I want to, but. And that's in response to the question that I'm asking is, do you want to say something? And you're going to hear me say that in this audio clip. Do you want to say something? And then you're going to hear the spirit say, I want to, and then there's a little bit of a pause, and then you're going to hear the word but. And then I'm assuming they've said something afterwards, but there was nothing that came over on the audio recorder at all. But again, this is an intelligent response. This isn't anything residual at all. It seems as though they were responding to my question, do you want to say something? So this is about 19 seconds long. Listen to after I ask the question, do you want to say something? And the response is, I want to, but.
You want to say something?
I'm going to play it one more time. You're going to hear, I want to, and then there's a pause, and then you're going to hear but at the very end of it.
You want to say something?
And so when I heard this, when I picked this up on the audio recorder, I'm thinking, why would they say I want to, but? Again, I go back to what we found in research and what's pretty much in plain history for Eastern State Penitentiary is that, again, they were not allowed to speak at all. And this may have been his response, saying, I want to, but I can't talk. They may still have that feeling in them that they cannot speak. And we've said that over and over again throughout the investigation, right, Lucy, that, that you can talk now. We're giving you permission. You don't have to be silent anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to make it clear that it's okay to talk now. It's okay to speak to us. And just the words, just the response, just fits in totally to the whole atmosphere that this place must have had when it was active, when there was actually prisoners there. They were not allowed to speak. So here we have some poor soul saying that I want to speak, but, and it's sad. It's very sad.
Yeah. All right, so the last audio clip that I have, and it is the last of the clips, the audio clips in the whole, is, again, this one is another EVP, and this is the one that Lucy was referring to as being, I think, the most clear one. I don't think this is the most clear one, Lucy, that I've ever captured or that we've ever captured, but I think it ranks high up there. I mean, I'm not sure about...
It's pretty amazing. When I heard it, my jaw dropped. This one is really good. I mean, as far as EVPs in Eastern State, this is one of the best ones we've gotten.
Yeah, maybe from Eastern State Penitentiary, this is the most clearest one that we've ever received. And but it's a funny response to the question that I ask. And in this clip, you'll hear me say, "Did you hate the guards?" And the response that we got on this audio clip is, "Your ass is freezing." And I'm not sure if it was responding to what they were feeling when they were there, or if they were responding to what we were feeling in there, because it was cold, it was warmer, than I think any other spot in Eastern State. It was the warmest one because it was underground. So we were not cold, as much as we were in the other locations. But and that, again, that's what prompted me to figure out if that was, Rocco, who was the other investigator that night, if he said that, and it wasn't him at all. Because if somebody is responding to the weather during the evening, it's a natural response to say. But again, you're going to hear this voice, but nobody is responding, number one. We would have said something, or we would have laughed or something like that if we heard this. But then again, and you'll have to trust me on this, that when I looked at the video recording, nobody spoke at this point. So this isn't...
The thing that really gets me about these things is the voices that we get. You and Rocco definitely have accents. You can tell your tone of voice. These voices that we're getting have definite tones of voice. Is different. It is not anything like anyone that's with us. And even the tour guides don't sound like this voice. No, definitely not. And again, if it was the tour guides who were outside of the hole, if it was, it would have been picked up. And at one point during the time that we were in the hole, if you remember, Lucy, I kept saying, I'm hearing male voices. I can clearly hear them. And I actually got up at one point and was, sort of putting my ear towards the corner of the hole, towards the far back corner of the hole, trying to listen to see. And when I revealed and I said to everybody, don't you hear that? Don't you hear male voices talking? And the response that I think Joanne or you said to me was that, it's the tour guides outside. But their voices never were picked up on the audio recorders or on the video at all. So I know for sure, again, this is not the tour guides. This is not either Rocco or I, making this statement. And so, again, you're going to hear me say, did you hate the guards? And the response that we got from the spirit world is, your ass is freezing. And this is about 14 seconds long, so take a listen to it. And this one is I think, pretty clear. And, again, I'm hoping Blog Talk Audio is going to allow you guys to hear it clearer. If not, again, check back on our Facebook page, and I guarantee you will hear this very clearly. Here we go.
Did you hate the guards?
Now, you can hear after that nobody is responding. If it was something that was audible in the room, you can actually hear the train in the background, the train noise. But nothing was responded to, and I can guarantee you it was none of the two guys that were there, myself included, and it was not the tour guides. I'm going to play it one more time for you guys.
Did you hate the guards?
It's almost like a grungy, your ass is freezing.
It's definitely a dialect that I would think that would be from around the area. It definitely sounds, there's a difference. There's a difference between you and Rocco have a New York accent. This is not a New York accent, but it is definitely a dialect. It's an urban accent. I'm going to say, the sense I'm getting, it's definitely towards, maybe like in the 40s or something. It wasn't someone from the older, from the beginning. It's definitely, it's definitely, how do I put this? It's definitely a voice that you would expect to hear from a criminal element, just the voice that it's saying and the way that he words it. Your ass is freezing. It's amazing to me. This one, I'm really pleased with this one.
I think overall, during the course of the evening, and when we were in the hole, this was towards the end. And, I think that's why, we really didn't capture a lot more of what we had hoped for. in the hole or in death row was because it was after the midnight hour. And again, that's when, Cheryl Patton had said to us that we weren't going to get easily any kind of communication with the spirits. But I was pretty satisfied and happy with what the outcome was. I was saddened to find out that, I had my DVR system set up. I had it going down cell block 4 and down the division area of cell block 2 and cell block 10, so that I was able to capture at least three cell blocks. And I've reviewed all of the audio, all of the video on that, and nothing happened. The funny thing was, though, Lucy, and I didn't tell you this, the video, the DVR system that I had for the camera that was facing towards cell block 2 and 10, in that section, there's this weird fuzzy dust. Not dust. It's not anything natural or organic or anything like that. This is something that's like an interference in the line, and so it was a little bit of snowiness that came on the video, and it was there from as soon as I started the DVR system to record for the two cameras. It started as soon as it turned on, and the funny thing is, though, this snowiness did not end until 2 minutes before I shut off the DVR system, and that's when it actually became clear. So if anything was to show up, there's no way for me to actually truly define it as evidence if anything came through, because you've got all this snowy patching in there, and it was really difficult for me to view any sort of changes if there were shadow figures or anything like that. The snowiness was very distracting. However, the other video camera that I had in the DVR system, which was facing cell block 4, had the same snowiness, but it was funny. After 5 minutes, this snowiness went away, and it was clear, perfectly clear, throughout the end of the 7 hours or 6.5 hours, I think, that I had this DVR system recording. So it's funny how one had this snowiness and the other one didn't. Again, I don't know if it's anything. I'm not saying it is anything, but that was one of the reasons why I couldn't pick up so much on the DVR system, especially on the one camera, but definitely on the other camera that was clear. I did not catch anything in cell block 4, and on my video camera itself that I had carrying around with me the entire time, nothing came through. I did not see anything, or if there was anything that came through as I was panning my video camera, handheld video camera. Nothing came through on my end. And I don't know if you were able to look at all of your video, Lucy.
No, and I want to apologize to everybody. I still have to go through my video. Part of losing my computer, I lost all my software. So as soon as I can get all that loaded, I still have to go through my handheld camera. So, there still might be something visual that we can find. But all in all, I mean, cell block 2 was definitely active. It seemed to definitely affect our equipment, where we got the EVPs and we've got, a lot of things that came through on the recorders, and thank God we had all these recorders. The energy that was there was definitely affecting our equipment. And, I usually get battery drain, excuse me, I usually get a lot of, interference in my equipment, but this was all of our equipment. I mean, starting with the video feed for it to go. And before the video feed went down, we had a strong signal. I mean, it was working. At the minute you set it up, we had a good connection. Everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, when all this activity starts happening, it goes down. The ovulus, that ovulus really started spouting words the minute we turned it on. So that, along with the fact that the two of us, we definitely saw a shadow figure down at the end of cell block 2. We were kind of like stationed like in the middle by where the benches are. And we kept looking towards the end. And it really did, to me, it seemed like whoever was there was coming out of a cell. It would look at us, and then when we tried to, like, get it to respond, it would hide. So I definitely sensed that. I know what I saw, but unfortunately, I don't have any visuals, and I hadn't started my handheld camera yet because we were concentrating on the broadcast, and I definitely wished I would have had the camera going because there definitely was a shadow figure at the end of the hall, and it definitely was watching us. One thing I do want to mention, Mr. Branford, the sense when we were interacting with Robin over the phone, and Robin was describing to us what she was getting, the Ovilus had, in the beginning, mentioned the word memories. And what I found interesting is that when Robin was connecting, she mentioned that the spirit, Mr. Branford, was talking about his memories. That word definitely came through on the Ovilus. There were so many words that were coming through, and some of it you can hear on the recordings, but they weren't clear. I mean, what we played for you tonight is probably the clearest and the most recognizable of all the sounds. But don't get me wrong, we have more that just isn't clear enough that we could claim that it would be anything paranormal. You know, this location never ceases to amaze me every time we go there. And like I said before, when you keep going to a location, you know, you kind of think that you know it. You kind of think that you know what's going on. But this location, every time we've gone there, we've gotten something different. And I am just so grateful for the opportunity to be able to go back and to have a different experience every single time.
It was I'm not sure if it was a full moon that night, but I know the sky was really eerie, and I took some really cool shots of Eastern State Penitentiary outside. But you can definitely tell that there was some vibe going on, especially in the beginning of the evening and beginning of the night in the investigation that we had. But I wanted to add a little bit to when you were talking about when our video feed went, and then obviously eventually when our radio show went, and you know we weren't able to go online. Both the video, whatever was captured during the time that it was being recorded for the video, as well as whatever was being recorded and supposedly archived for the radio show, never was archived. There were problems with the blog talk afterwards. We found out that the link to the show that normally happens after we do a show and we end, or you know, we go off the air, the show is automatically archived. Blog Talk does that already for us. And it did not archive it. We actually had to, for some reason, we had to go in. It wasn't playing off of the player on Blog Talk. We had to go in and download it, create it as an audio clip, then create another show. We actually did it the next day and had it recorded and played it on air as though we were doing a live show on that Saturday when we were home, and be able to have it and create a link so people can listen to the live investigation. The video feed that we were able to capture for that short period of time, which was maybe about 15, 20 minutes, when we lost signal, I'm thinking it's supposed to automatically end the show and it automatically archives it. It never did. So I actually never got to see the video. I never actually got to see whatever was recorded that night on video on Justin.tv. So, and I know people were able to see it for that short period of time, but it never archived it. So it's just funny that everything was working perfectly, and then as soon as we went on air, everything went, first the video and then Blog Talk, and then afterwards we had the problem of that actually recording for prosperity, and nothing was able to be captured as it normally would be on any normal given day. We actually had to make some effort. I couldn't retrieve any of the video because nothing was kept at all. I went back to it the next day and it was blank. And so I'm saddened to say that I couldn't even capture and save anything from the video at least, but at least we were able to capture the audio for the Blog Talk live show that night.
Well, we've never seen it, and I was so disappointed. But it was our first venture into video, so I know for our next investigation, we'll be able to do that, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, it's one thing to have you guys on the phone listening to us while we're there, but I want you guys to see what we're seeing. I mean, these locations that we go to, they are so amazing. And if you've never been on an investigation, there is just something about being in the actual location. And there's so many things that you can't describe. You know, you can watch these shows with the investigators, you can listen to recordings, but until you're actually in this location, you don't understand the feelings that are going through you, what you're picking up on, what you're sensing. These are things, but video will help to actually see. And who knows, you may be able to see something that we're not seeing. I mean, a lot of these recordings we didn't hear when we were actually standing in the room or in that location. We didn't hear this. So that pushes me towards the realization that yes, this probably could be paranormal. But again, we don't come out and ever say something is definitely paranormal. We put that out there for you to listen and to make your own determination as to what it is. I am so grateful that we do this. I mean, this is why I investigate. This is why we constantly do this, is for the experience that we have, and that we're able to share this with you, to me, is a gift. And I'm so grateful that all of you are there, that all of you listen. And again, I am so grateful for Robin and Cindy for carrying on after we lost everybody. And don't get me wrong, we were freaking out because we couldn't get back to you. We didn't know what was going on. We had no idea that you guys carried on for us, and I will be forever grateful for that. We both will be.
Yeah, Lucy's nervous now. She thinks that I'm going to actually take Cindy. If you're interested in a little sidekick co-hosting opportunity, wink, wink. Lucy ever gets on my nerves. Cindy, wink, wink.
One thing I have to say, I really want to mention, after we left, and I didn't really think about Mr. Branford until I got home. And that's when, and I don't know if I had carried something back with me, the sadness, because Robin had kept saying that Mr. Branford wanted to touch me. And I had put my hand out, and I was sensing the sadness, but not to the point that when I got home, it hit me. It hit me how sad it was, how lost this person felt. I mean, I came home and I cried. I literally cried because it was almost like I could feel the desolation that this person had. And that's one of the things that is hard to explain. When you go into a location, you have to listen to your senses, listen to what you're feeling. That you're feeling yourself, the best piece of equipment that you can have when you go on an investigation is going to be your own sense, your own awareness of what's going on. And Mr. Branford definitely affected me, but he didn't affect me until I got home. And that's when I felt the sadness. And Mr. Branford, if you're listening, if you can still hear our voice, your family is waiting for you, and you don't have to stay there. I had to say that. I mean, it really did affect me, and I'm glad we made the connection. I mean, if it gave him a voice for a very short period of time, then I'm happy.
One of the weird things that we forgot to talk about or mention was during the time when Robin was on the line with us, and I think it was with Mr. Branford when she was talking about Mr. Branford, or I'm not sure if she was talking because Cindy had brought up the name Henry, that that her and her group were getting. I think I'm not sure if it was the last time or if it's the several times that they've been there, was the name Henry that had come through. And at one point during the show, Robin actually linked. It was very odd, Mr. Branford and Henry together. Not sure if they're family, friends, or something like that, but
his brother.
Or brother, right?
Brother Henry.
But do you remember when Robin actually mentioned the town of what was it, Morrisville?
Morrisville, or I think it's Morrisville.
I think it was Morrisville, and she said something about that he came from, or his family, Mr. Branford, was from Morrisville, Pennsylvania. Now, do you remember on the ride home, because everybody are party poopers, they can't hang, and so, everybody was passing out in the car. It was left up to me to drive home back to New York, and the GPS was getting us screwed. It was just, and this has happened several times. This happened to us when we were in Cincinnati. Remember that time with Saddamsville?
Oh my God, yeah. The GPS always seems to react too.
Yeah, and that was going to Saddamsville. This was actually leaving the haunted location, and the GPS was going crazy. And at one point, it was taking us off of the normal highway that we had normally gone through to get there, and it took us through the town of Morrisville. Mm-hmm. And so I pointed it out to, I think I pointed it out to you at one point, and I said, look on the GPS, look at the name of the town, and it said Morrisville. And that was pretty eerie, and that was pretty funny. And so, I'm not, putting, this to anything paranormal or not, but it's a weird coincidence that, Robin was talking about the town of Morrisville, and our GPS, takes us to that area. Could it have been Mr. Branford wanting us to go to his hometown, to where his family lived? I thought that was pretty odd and pretty strange, but I'm not sure if it was coincidence or not, and maybe it could have been something universal or spiritual in nature. I'm not sure, but I thought it was funny.
Well, it's the little synchronicities that happen after you leave a location. Sometimes you don't think about it, because at the time when you pointed it out, it didn't click with me until I was thinking, oh my God, that's where Mr. Branford said he was. So there's all these little synchronicities that happen that when you really think about it, they all tie in together. And all in all, this was a successful investigation. I mean, at the time, sometimes and there's the last couple of times we've gone to Eastern State, we kind of get pretty quiet, and we've kind of developed this where we just listen. And again, this was one of these points. I mean, we had people with us, and yes, we were conversing, but I tried to be quiet, and I tried to listen again. And even though I didn't hear anything audibly, my recorders sure did. I think our equipment really did. And again, it was a successful investigation from my perspective. And I think you feel the same, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that we saw the shadow figure I'm not sure if you did, in cell block 2, nothing else, nothing else traumatic happened. Nothing was thrown at us. Nobody was pushed or scratched or groped or anything like that. Nothing was visual enough for us to experience anything firsthand from spirit to human. We did have the interactions with the REM pod and the obelisk and all of that stuff, and then mostly got the EVPs and audio recordings afterwards, but nothing of that nature happened. And so what would seem as though was an uneventful night to some of the members of that were on our investigation with us, we always like to remind people that it's not so much that everything happens right up front, face-to-face, to you when you're at a location, and that's why it's always good to have some sort of recording device, either it be video or audio, to be able to capture things and listen back, because most of the time you do capture EVPs, something that is not readily audible to the naked ear or even visual to your naked eye. A lot of things happen beyond what we've learned from Brian Kalek, beyond the dimensions that is not within our scope to understand and to comprehend and to receive, that these tools that we bring with us are somewhat able to capture some of these things as best in the abilities that a human piece of equipment that is manufactured can. And so what would seem like an uneventful night to some people, I mean, we just showed you and had you listen to 16 pieces of audio evidence that I think were pretty cool in nature. I'm not saying that they're outstanding, but I think they were able to be linked to the location. They were able to be linked to the questioning that we were proceeding with during the course of the investigation, and the instances that we did have, the very few that we did have, I think made it, to me, in my opinion, an eventful night. I think otherwise, this is not something that I think would have been put on television as video. But to me, I felt as though that this was a really intriguing night and eventful afterwards.
Yeah. And there's a couple things that we didn't do. I mean, we had other things planned. We actually had recorded some questions in reverse that we never ever used. So, I mean, there's still a lot of things that can be done, but you have to try to cram everything into the limited time that you have. So it was a great night. I mean, I seriously, I can't wait to go back there again. I know I always say that, but this location, if you have not gone to Eastern State Penitentiary, please, you have to go. Even if you just want to support the actual building itself, it is well worth it. It's well worth it. I mean, this is a part of history, a living part of history, and we need to do as much as we can to keep it going. So, whatever support you can do, you have to.
It's not a cheap investigation. It is a costly one. It is one of the ones that rank up there as high in fees that you pay to rent the facility for the evening. So it's something that you'd have to. It's an investment that you want to take not lightly. That you want to take it very seriously, because the amount of money that you spend to investigate it at Eastern State Penitentiary, you go deep into your pockets, and so you want to make the investigation worthwhile. But it's also good, like Lucy was saying, is that you're investing in Eastern State Penitentiary. You're helping build it and maintain it and keep it going, so that further investigations and further people for the museum itself can learn the history and all of the ongoing research that Eastern State Penitentiary is actually able to conduct. Because actually recently, I think it was within a month or two, not even, that they were able to research and uncover that there was one female inmate that escaped from Eastern State Penitentiary. That was never known to Eastern State Penitentiary at all before. They've only known men that have tried to escape, but there is history now that shows that a female inmate tried to escape from, I'm not sure if it was successful or not, but I remember seeing that article come up about a month ago before we went on the investigation, that a female inmate tried to escape. So they're continually uncovering things and finding things and linking things together with even family history of people who have worked there before. They're coming forward, and some of the things that they uncover themselves and discover within the confines of Eastern State Penitentiary, either being dug up or hidden in walls or wherever, they're continually doing it. So the money that you spend for this investigation goes to those efforts, and then also goes to maintain and restore and at some areas rebuild Eastern State Penitentiary. So, it's something that I think everybody should look into. And if you're a history buff, it's such a great place to go to.
Definitely. Well, I totally enjoyed it. I think it was wonderful, and I can't wait to go back.
All right, so we've got about 7.5 minutes left, Lucy. Why don't we get to what we normally do at the end of our shows?
God, the time went by so fast.
I know.
Okay, well, let's get to regular business, and which is the Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week. And this week, it is a special person. This person is very cool. This person supports us. He likes things on our page. He posts every once in a while. And you may know this fan of the week. It is Kevin Betzer of Kenner, Louisiana. He is the owner and CEO at Down South Paranormal. He's a research investigator and a tech specialist of a group you might know, Deep South Paranormal. Kevin likes Fact or Fake. He likes Coast to Coast AM. He likes Eastern State Penitentiary, Southern Comfort, Teresa Caputo, Paranormal State, Ghost Hunters, and of course he likes Paranormal Review Radio. Congratulations, Kevin, and thank you so much. Thank you for being a friend and supporting us.
Yeah, congratulations, Kevin. And if you go to our Facebook page, we're going to post his picture, and it's actually a funny picture of him dressed as the Fonz. And he's entitled his picture The Betts. I guess that's Kevin Betzer. So congratulations, Kevin. And don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio fan of the week, just like us on Facebook. And our Facebook page is Paranormal Review Radio.
Well, you know, Eastern State Penitentiary has a very long and frightening history. What started out as an experiment to help men repent and become closer to God, it only brought them into the depths of hell. Now, not all the men and women who were sentenced to do time in this stone fortress left. Some of them never did, and they're still there to this day. As paranormal investigators, we look for answers as to why these poor souls remain. And they still reach out to the living every single day. We do want to thank Joanne and Rocco, Robin Marie, Cindy Jensen, and Eastern State Penitentiary for making this another amazing investigation. It was absolutely a great night. But let's talk about next week. We're going to ask you, join us next week, and I didn't write this, as we have a very special guest, someone you all know very well and is an amazing tarot card reader. Can you guess who it is? It's me. Yes, next week, as kind of like our Christmas gift to you, I'm going to be doing free tarot card readings next week to our lucky listeners. So if you're looking for answers on how to handle your current relationship, or if you're looking to see where your job may lead you, or if you need to find a job, worry no more. Tune in next week and call in for a free reading. You never know what the cards have in store for you. I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for all of your support. You guys rock, and we adore every single one of you. Thank you, Anthony, for another great investigation. I am so ready for our next one. So, until next week, Parapeeps, keep communicating and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Paranormal Review Radio. Paranormal Review Radio.